Hey friends, this is the commemorative 10K Q&A because that is what one does when one reaches subscriber milestones. Firstly, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who supported and subscribed to this channel so far. It's meant more than you know. Like at this point, I can be full-time with YouTube and it's literally because of you. So first and foremost, thank you so much. So today we have 8 questions from Instagram, 8 questions from Twitter, and 4 questions from YouTube, which I think adds up to 22 questions total. I've sorted these questions into questions about NFTs, questions about YouTube, and questions about my personal life. So yeah, 22 questions to answer, and let's get into it. So first, let's start with the questions about NFTs. How many NFTs you own?
A lot.
Let's see, I have, my original collection that I made was 30, and I sold 6 of them. So I technically have, or am the owner of 24 NFTs that I made myself. Additionally, I have been gifted either for fun or as part of sponsorship deals, 5, and then 2, and then 1. So 9 more. So 24 plus 9 is, quick maths, 33. Okay,
Boom.
so I have 33 NFTs currently. Why most artists hate NFT? Honestly, I don't think most artists hate NFTs. I think a lot of people in general hate NFTs. Or just like feel a negative way about that. I wouldn't say it's specific to artists. I would say that a lot of people dislike NFTs because they don't know much about it. It's like they hear something about like someone, like a 12-year-old making 400K in 1 month, and they feel resentment because they think that it's just luck, and they think like, oh, why couldn't have that been me? And they think about how unhappy they are in their current life and how that much money would have changed their life, and so they feel resentment over the fact that they can't do it themselves.
I can't do it. I can't do it, Squidward.
I think a lot of other people kind of like hear things like, oh, NFTs are bad for the earth, and so then they start to hate on NFTs because of that without doing their own research first. But it's not, I guess, as simple as NFTs are bad for the planet. So I guess like to sum up, I think that a lot of people are pretty ignorant when it comes to NFTs. They just think that they're JPEGs that people pay an absurd amount of money for without really digging into the underlying tech behind it. And they feel a little resentment and I guess FOMO over people who do make it big with NFTs, and they feel like they can't do this so themselves. So just my guess. Have you invested or planning to invest in metaverse? If yes, then how will you invest? I am not invested yet. I do plan on investing in the metaverse, but honestly, I know literally nothing about any of that so far. So I'm going to have to do a lot of research and figure that out and then decide the best way to invest there. But yeah, I can't really say so far, but I am planning on it in the future. Okay, so now let's move into some more YouTube related questions. How did you grow your channel so fast? Yeah, that's a great question. For me personally, so I started my YouTube channel back in July, like mid-July. And at that point, the kind of strategy was, like I had already had a decent following on Twitter at that point. I think maybe around like 5K. And I had a lot of Twitter threads that were doing pretty well on Twitter. And my thinking was, okay, I'm going to take a lot of the Twitter threads that have performed well on Twitter and turn those into YouTube videos. And most of those threads had been about how to grow your audience on Twitter. So it's been all about Twitter growth. So like, well, these threads are doing well on Twitter, so they should do well on YouTube, right? I made a lot of videos, and like I had some people, like some followers follow me from Twitter, so they went from Twitter, have also followed me on YouTube to support. But for the most part, everyone was like old followers. Like I wasn't getting any new audience on YouTube because no one on YouTube cared about Twitter until around early November. I made my first video about NFTs, and it was my how to launch an NFT project without experience. And that video took off. Like the YouTube algorithm picked it up, and at that point I was kind of struggling with the decision of, do I kind of stay with this broader niche that I'm more interested in, which is more about like encouraging and enabling people to monetize their passions, or do I fall completely into the NFT niche? And it was a really tough decision for me because honestly, like I am not an NFT expert. I'm learning more over time, but I am not an expert. And I wasn't even that interested in NFTs. Like I had done one NFT collection because it was kind of, I guess, interesting to me. But yeah, didn't really know much about it. But I think like the saying is niche down to blow up. So over like lots of thought, I was like, you know what? NFT projects if done correctly, are a way for people to monetize their passions, and maybe I can focus on NFT content for the first like 1 to 2 years and broaden out from there. So I decided to lean into the niche, and you niche down to blow up. Once I leaned into it, kept making more videos about the niche, YouTube just like picked up all of that and decided to, I guess, promote me through the algorithm, and that's how I blew up. So YouTube told me, hey, this is the niche we want you to do, and I listened, and I just kept making more videos from there. Of course, there were some other factors that like led to, I guess, being good at YouTube, including like my studio setup and my editing and the lighting and like all of that. But I think the biggest contributing factor was topic and was leaning into that niche. How do you manage your job with YouTube? YouTube is my full-time job.
Yeah, baby!
Yeah, I quit my full-time job back in July. You kind of see that story over here if you would like. So I quit in July and was spending some time kind of like figuring things out. I gave myself 1 year to figure things out before returning to a job if I needed to. At this point though, YouTube is my main source of income. So YouTube is my job. Congratulations! Which niches are you planning to dive into in future videos? So yeah, like right now I'm focusing on NFTs. Eventually I want to broaden it to not just NFTs, but more crypto and Web3 tech in general. And I think after, there's so much to unpack there, but after I've kind of gone through that, I guess a couple years in the future is when I want to start broadening that out, more kind of like what Ali Abdaal did. So he started with lots of content about like being a student, being a doctor, and being a doctor student, but then eventually broadened out to productivity, and now it's more like the Ali Abdaal channel, in which he can kind of talk about like books and things that interested him, and podcasts and other things, and that's kind of where I want to eventually go to. Really with like the underlying core of enabling and encouraging people to monetize their passions. So that's kind of right now what the plan is, but we'll see how it goes in the future. Congrats! Question on the YouTuber front. How do you think about the view distribution across videos, and how does that affect your income? i.e., are you aiming for a viral video every time or more consistent / average viewership? And how does that change how you make videos? Ooh, good question. So I think there are like a couple of buckets of content that I have. There are different ways that I aim to grow those things. So first and foremost, I think, is like the core NFT type of content. So the more educational content about NFTs, and more about like NFT strategy, I guess, for people planning on creating their own NFTs. And that I tend to focus on browse. And so I kind of target those videos on things that could be recommended on someone's homepage, or their suggested videos, and find across that way. I am aiming for more virality on those topics. There's another bucket, which I'm going to go into shortly, which is more like how-tos, like how to make an Ethereum wallet, how to make a Solana wallet, other things that people are searching for. That's under search. I'm not really aiming for those videos to go viral. I'm more aiming for kind of new people searching for things to be able to find me through that. And also just to answer their questions that they have there and to provide some value that way. And I guess like the third category of stuff are more of like my personal type of vlogs, like this one for instance, where I'm not expecting this to blow up. I'm not expecting a lot of people to view it, but it's more of my way to show that like, hey, I'm a real person. There's more about me than just NFTs. I want to kind of like set expectations from the very beginning that it's not just like an NFT channel. This is my channel, and I aim to provide as much value as I can through NFTs and through other things. But also like, hey, like I'm a real person, I'm here, there's more to me than just that. So yeah, I guess those are the three buckets. And in terms of income, honestly, like once one video goes viral, like my first NFT video does, that consistently gets views like every single day. I don't know when, if ever, it's going to taper off. So at that point, I'm already making a consistent amount of income through that. Obviously, the more viral a video is, the more I'm able to monetize from that, which is great. But I think like being able to create content more sustainably in a way that I enjoy is more important than like maximizing monetization right now. Firstly, congratulations! Hopefully the first big milestone of many. My question is, what is one thing that doing content creation has allowed you to do that you couldn't before? I mean, the biggest thing is like being able to live on an income without having a job, because even though I quit my job back in July, for a long period of times, like I didn't know if I would be able to sustain myself fully within a year. And now with YouTube being my full-time job and making enough money from it to support myself, like that is huge. Additionally, I think that it's enabled me to connect with super cool people. At this point, a lot of my closest friends are YouTubers or are other content creators. And you know, I have a plan to hopefully, knock on wood, travel the world in like a traveling creator house with 3 to 4 other full-time creators. And so I think that this, like, my life is wild. And all of this is because of YouTube and because of content creation, like getting to meet these cool people, probably getting to travel to cool places, and mostly being able to support myself by doing something that I actually truly enjoy. Woohoo! Almost 50% of subs in the last 28 days. Secret behind the magic. Okay, so first and foremost, as we said before, leaning into a niche down to blow up. That's what I did with NFTs. There are some like other things that went into it. So for example, I really worked on my thumbnails. If you look at my videos after NFTs and before NFTs, you can see that my thumbnails and text and everything kind of in that beginner stage was completely different. Like I completely rebranded myself. So part of that was like picking a new font, picking a new color scheme. I learned how to edit. At this point, I don't edit my own videos, but kind of for the first couple, in that case, I learned how to edit. Like I was like, hey, there are transition packs, there are effect packs. This is how you do things. Like this is how you add actual images. And so with the editing and now working with editors, I'm able to make videos more engaging, more visually engaging, which has been huge. Lighting has been huge. So like getting my lighting set up correct. I have like 2 big lights here, the practical light in the back for kind of like separating myself from the background. Even just like the studio setup is pretty intentional, and where I'm positioned in a corner versus just like completely flat against the wall creates more distance between myself and the background, which is also huge. So just a lot of little things that add up to like help make the YouTube just like a higher quality channel. Additionally, again, like worked really hard on titles and thumbnails, because titles and thumbnails are everything. That's how you're found. That's where your click-through rate comes from. Your click-through rate is super important because the more people that click on your videos, the more views that your video gets. And they only click on your videos if the title and thumbnail pair look enticing enough. So lots of work on that. And most all of these things I learned from something called PTYA, or Part-Time YouTuber Academy. I will make another video about that in the future, but that was like a cohort-based course that I took back in the beginning of November, and that really changed a lot about how I understood YouTube. My question, your YouTube journey and your growth. Love from India. Hey, thanks so much. Yeah, I'm gonna table this because I'm going to make an entire other video about my like YouTube journey and growth and all of that. So it will come. I have a lot to say in this matter, but I'll make another video dedicated to that. Congrats, how much money have you made? Ooh, interesting question. Okay, so looking at my analytics from YouTube AdSense alone, and I got monetized on December 3rd. So in December, I made $2,451.63. In January, so far, so today is the 20th of January when I'm filming this, so far in January, I have made $1,575.78, which means that in total, I have made $4,027.41 just from YouTube AdSense alone. That's just YouTube AdSense. Also keep in mind that January is often a lot worse than December for most creators, because a lot of businesses, like they have their budgets, they have their marketing budgets, and towards the holidays and the end of the year, they like spend as much money as they can. A lot of companies too, like their budget runs out at the end of the year, so if you don't use that money, then you lose it, and so they just have a lot of money to spend, so your CPM, or cost per 1,000 views that you get, is much higher in December. In January, it's the beginning of the budget, so ad spend is much lower. But yeah, so I've made a little over $4,000 just from YouTube AdSense alone. Now I have other way of monetizing. For example, I have sponsorships, so I've made some money from sponsorships as well. And I also do consulting on the side related to YouTube and related to NFTs. So revenue from that as well. I'll probably make another video at some point about like how much money I'm making right now and the different revenue streams that I'm having right now. But yeah, I should probably make another video about that. But yeah, that's how much money I make from YouTube at the current moment. Congrats, I learned a lot from you. My question for the Q&A, how do you optimize your videos to gain views, and what equipment and tools do you use? Okay, good question. So how do I optimize my video for views? That's all about the title and thumbnail, all about the title and thumbnail. So I spent a lot of time just dedicated to figuring out my title, my thumbnail, and like the individual text that goes in the thumbnail and where that's oriented and everything like that, in the title as well. If a video isn't performing very well when I first release it, like I will change the title or the thumbnail or both of that video to see if that makes a difference. In terms of equipment and tool that I use, let's see, so I don't remember off the top of my head what my lights are called, but like I'll link all of my equipment that I use down in the video description if you like want to check anything about. But I have basically 2 big lights that are softened by white umbrellas on 2 tripods, and those are here and here. Additionally, I have my camera, which is the Sony ZV-1, and I have that on another tripod facing me. I have like a practical light in the background that I just got from Amazon. I have an LED light in the back that like makes the room whatever color I want. I do blue for personal vlogs like this and purple for my more like main type of videos. Yeah, and besides that, in terms of tools, I don't personally use any more tools. I used to edit with HitFilm Express, which was like a free editing tool. Now I don't do my own editing, so yeah, just kind of like Google Drive for back and forth with my editor, and frame.io also for back and forth with my editor. And I use Figma to design all of my thumbnails and like any sort of visuals that I want to add to my videos. Oh, and I use Flat Icon for a lot of the icons that come up. So yeah, those are the equipment and tools that I use. How do you plan to come up with content ideas in this niche? Ooh, interesting. Okay, so some content ideas just kind of come to me just randomly. I'm thinking about something, or I'm in a conversation with someone, I think, oh, like this could make a good video. And I have this Notion board where like I keep like all of my stuff in Notion and all of the video ideas, and kind of like go through this flow, this productivity flow, to keep track of all of my videos and where they're at. So it goes from like idea to thread written. I don't like write any threads of my videos. I will do that soon, but I should technically be repurposing my content for threads. From thread written to like script written to edited to ready for publication and then published, and kind of like the whole entire flow. So I have like a spot in Notion where I keep all of my video ideas. Also, like I read through pretty much all of the comments that I receive on YouTube right now. And a lot of you guys will say, hey, you should do a video on this, or you should do a video on that. And so right now, a lot of my video ideas in this niche comes from viewers like you who just comment things in the video. Yeah. So also, like if you have any video ideas, let me know in the comments below, because I will probably make a video about it if it seems interesting enough or enough people want it. So yeah, never be afraid to like give me ideas about what sort of videos that you want, because I will probably make them. Congrats, Aprilyn. You're growing quickly. 10K, great reward for the beginning. Keep going. Okay, we have a couple of questions. Let's go for them. How's your feelings getting this milestone? Honestly, it feels fantastic. I feel like, I mean, I knew that I would hit it because of the rate that I was growing, but I feel like there's something much more real getting to 10K. I feel more like a real YouTuber, and I feel like I have a little bit more credibility in the space. So yeah, that feels great. Are you going to make some videos about content creation on YouTube? Maybe. Is that something people would be interested in, content creation on YouTube? Like I have like so much that I could say about YouTube. Like, I do my own YouTube consulting. So there's so much I could say about that. I don't know how YouTube will respond to going too much out of my niche like that, but I could always try one video and see how it does, or maybe 2 and see how they do, and kind of like go from there. So if enough people are interested, let me know in the comments below, then maybe. One key tip for other starting YouTubers personally works for you. Target search. If you're just starting out, if you're a small YouTuber, target search as much as you can. What I mean by that is download a tool like TubeBuddy. It's a free tool. You can download that. It's like an extension that you can add to your browser, and it allows you to do some keyword research. So research what people are searching for. You want to look for keywords that have a high search volume but a low competition, and make videos targeting those keywords. Use those keywords as well in the video itself, like in what you're saying and in the title and in the video description, and that helps you rank and search. And I guess like besides optimize for search, I would say really focus on your titles and thumbnails. I cannot understate, like everyone knows that they matter, but you don't know how much they matter. They matter more than the actual value of the content or like the production quality of the video itself. So many people are like, oh, production quality, like I need to get a good camera, I need all of the lighting. Like you don't, but you do need to focus on your titles and thumbnails. So yeah, keyword research and titles and thumbnails. You have a boyfriend? No. Yes! Yes! I do not. I am talking to someone, so we'll kind of see how that goes. Honestly, I really enjoy being single. Like I love being single. I don't particularly want a relationship right now. Don't take this as an invitation to like hop into my DMs and say things, like please no. But yeah, currently don't have a boyfriend, but maybe at some point. We'll see. I guess that was like a good segue into the more personal questions, so let's dive into those. Did anyone tell you that your dreams won't work out? What would you tell them now? Honestly, no. I've been pretty lucky that a lot of the people in my life have been pretty supportive of me. I don't think anyone straight up told me that things wouldn't work out. I think some people were a little bit skeptical, especially when I quit my full-time job. Like I think like that conversation with my parents, coming from like a semi-Asian background, you know, you're like, if you are like part of a minority, you know this feeling when your parents really try to, like they want what's best for you. And I think it was a really tough conversation for me to have with them, with saying like, hey, like I know that I have this really great, high-paying, safe job as a financial analyst, but I'm unhappy. And so I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to try to actually follow my dreams and do things that I feel good about. And that was a really tough question. That was a really tough conversation. But it's not like they told me that my dreams wouldn't work out. It was more like they were just scared for me, which makes sense. So yeah, I think besides that, it's like myself and what sort of doubts that I have with myself about going into this, but I feel like I have a pretty high level of self-esteem and confidence in general. So if anything, it was just like a lot of uncertainty. But what I've realized along this way is just like lean into the chaos and do things that bring me joy, and things will kind of have a way of figuring itself out. So yeah. Do you have a group where you usually do mentorship? Yes, actually. I have an accountability group with a couple of other YouTubers that meets every Monday morning. So every week we kind of gather up in a Zoom call and we talk about these struggles that we're having or how we're doing in our lives. So that's like an accountability group that I have. Additionally, beyond that, I do have some YouTuber friends that I meet with on like a regular basis, either once a week or once a day or once a month and other things like that, just kind of keep up with people and make sure that we're all on track. So I do have a pretty solid support system in like the content creation side in general. When are you coming to India? I'm not sure, but I'm actually planning on it at some point. I have a friend who's from India, and so we were planning on traveling to India together and he could kind of like show me around. So I am planning on doing it at some point. It kind of depends on what the COVID situation is like and when we both have the time to go to India for a month or however long we end up staying there. So it is happening at some point. Not exactly sure when, but at some point it's gonna happen. To gain something, you have to lose something. What you lost during this journey? I don't think I would necessarily agree with that. I don't think you have to lose something just because you gain something. That being said, like this journey definitely was not easy. There were like a lot of tears, there were a lot of breakdowns because when you grow so quickly, you don't have the time to adjust. And so for a while I was just like super overwhelmed with like all the messages that I was receiving and feeling really guilty about not being able to reply to everyone. And so I think for a lot of time there's like a lot of guilt, a lot of like being overwhelmed, as well as like I had my first stalker, and so there was like that whole thing of like I have to be really careful about the things that I say on the internet because people can be watching and people might not be the nicest at all times. Like also, I think like the comments, most comments are really positive, and like I adore that. I adore the community that we're building here. But some people can be really toxic and really mean, and that was like a first for me in getting like the volume of those mean messages. So yeah, all of that has kind of affected my life, but I've been able to move past it. But in the beginning, that was really hard. Well done. How has newfound stardom affected your life? I wouldn't say I'm a star, but it kind of goes back to the other question of, yeah, in general, it's been phenomenal. Like I am able to make a living doing something that I love, and there's so much room for growth in the future, and we can only go up from here. And then, you know, I've been able to meet so many awesome people, like other YouTubers, other content creators, and be able to meet up with them and jam with them, and that's been incredible. I've like met some of my closest friends now just because of this. However, like on the other side, it's just like very overwhelming and trying to navigate all of this. Luckily not by myself anymore, but especially in the beginning, it was all by myself. But mostly positive things, mostly positive things. Congratulations to you, Aprilyn. For the question, how long do you think your journey has taken you to get here? Do you view it as a lifelong journey where your experiences have gotten you here? If not, how do you view your journey? Hope that makes sense. Okay, so what I think you're saying here is if I view where I am right now, which is like passing 10K subscribers on YouTube, how long of a journey was it to get me here? And to answer that, I think it all started when I started making Twitter banners. So I did some freelance design. This was like SparkNotes version. I quit my full-time job. I went full-time on a startup that I was working on at the time, which I'm still working on. It's called TENDERFOOT. We connect students with internships at startups and with creators. So did that, and then kind of had some like weird things that happened with myself and my co-founder, and so operations for that paused. And during that time, I did a lot of different things and kind of like explored different things. And one of them was freelance design, so I created Twitter banners for people, and people really loved them. So then someone recommended, hey, I love your Twitter banners, you should turn them into an NFT collection. And I thought, you know what, like, why not? Might as well try it, I'll learn something new. Created that NFT collection and made a YouTube video about the NFT collection, and that was the first YouTube video that really took off, that got me to eventually where I am today. So I'd say I think it started with kind of by accident creating Twitter banners for people, which started by creating my own Twitter banner and someone saying, hey, I love your Twitter banner, can you make me one? So it started like that, and that's what kind of led to now passing 10K on YouTube, which is kind of like insane to see how all of the different dots connect, but I think like that's kind of the beginning to it. Question, you and a super intelligent snail both get $1 million and you both become immortal. However, you die if a snail touches you. This always knows where you are and slowly crawls towards you. What's your plan?
The fuck?
Seriously? Okay, what is my plan? Okay, so I think what a lot of people would say here is like, just put like a cup on it or just put something on it or like bury it or something. The problem is it's immortal and it is a super intelligent snail. And so even if I put something over it, I think it would be able to figure its way out of it, and then it would come for me and be very angry. So I think at that point, like assuming that we're in the same location as we're given these $1 million, I'm gonna turn to snail and say, look, snail, we are both immortal. And I don't know why we've been given this curse, because truly, if you think about it, it is actually a curse. Who wants to be immortal? If you are immortal and you are alone, you just see everybody you've ever loved and known and trusted, generation after generation after generation, all wither and die. And it's only you that remains. And you do this enough and you're immortal long enough, and you start to go insane because you can't really make solid friends. People are going to ask a lot of questions. People are going to notice that you aren't aging. The government's going to want to take you and experiment on you. And so the only thing that can really keep you sane is knowing that some being out there is going through the same shared experience. And so, look, you can touch me, you can kill me if you want, but then you're dooming yourself to forever alone. Or you could choose to not touch me, you could keep me alive, we can be friends, we can go through this together, and we can help each other out. So honestly, snail, it is up to you. You can choose to be alone, you can choose to have company as you go through forever being alive. And yeah, hopefully, because the snail is super intelligent, they'll start to see some of his logic, and hopefully they'll understand how crazy it would be to go through all of eternity alone, and will maybe want to keep me around for company. So yeah, So that brings us to the end of the Q&A. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you aren't, you can fix that right now by clicking the button somewhere. There's a subscribe button. You'll see it. You know, you're on YouTube. You know. But yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if there are any more questions that you have, let me know in the video description below. And next time I do a Q&A, I can take questions from there. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.